All right, friends, welcome to another episode of the Overshare Hour. How are you doing today, Kenzie?
As always, we keep it real around here. We're
Like, are we
exhausted.
going to be real or are we going to lie?
Guys, the state of the world is so disgusting and awful. And we were just talking before we started recording about you try to get through your day and do all of the things. And there's just like this dark cloud of heaviness. I was saying that my anxiety has spiked a lot recently to panic levels, which since starting Lexapro has not been like in my life at all. Like the panic aspect of my mental health has really subsided because of medication. And I just feel like that's kind of not working as well. And so, yeah, it's kind of just the weighing of, is this just everyday life? Is this the weight of the world? Because life is hard too. I mean, just doing life in general is difficult. We are going through change. And especially when you're, an entrepreneur, you're a content creator, you're trying to create, you're trying to reach all of the goals that you're setting for yourself, especially, right now at the beginning of the year. It's just overwhelming in general, but I do think that there is a heaviness and I think that probably comes from what's happening all around us and the energy we feel too from everybody. It's hard.
Absolutely. It has been a very heavy week. And
Mhm.
I don't know. I made a video about how it feels so dystopian, just everything going on.
Mm.
And I hate it. So I don't have much more
Ah,
to say other than that. But thankfully, I mean, Bran and I had the weekend to really relax and regroup. So it's so funny. I had like such a refreshing weekend. And then
aw.
Monday, I'm like in a bad mood. Just because
Yeah,
there was just so much to do today. There was like a lot to do at work as well. But hopefully, we are able to just take some deep breaths and try to realize that I think a lot of us are feeling this way and we are not alone and feeling very overwhelmed. And we just got to get through the day. You know what I mean?
that's right. Yeah. The girls and we downloaded this app called Finch, which is like a habit tracker. And it's like this little, I guess it's a little bird and you name them. And then like as you do your habits, you can you get diamonds and you can buy them clothes and like furniture for their house. One of them is, yeah, one of the preset habits, because you can create your own and then also use the preset ones. One of the preset habits is like just get through the day or literally just survive the day. It's like something just survive the day. And so all of us have that on our habit
Love it.
tracker because we're like, yeah, right now is, they have school stuff, we have work stuff and life stuff. So it's not easy. But the silver lining is we are here at the Overshare Hour and we have some really good submissions and I think there is an anchor to this podcast and being able to like show up each week and be with you and kind of like get out of my head a little bit and have fun. And I don't know, I think it kind of helps to be able to like break the cycle of just like the everyday life. So I'm excited to get started.
I agree. And I feel very cozy tonight. So I'm
Yay.
ready to get into these submissions.
Okay, well, I'm going to read the first one. Are you ready? Okay.
Yes.
The first one says, "Hello, ladies. Hi. First of all, big fan of this podcast and Heel Dish and the both of you. Yeah, yeah. Shout out. I love hearing all of your non professional therapy advices on some hard questions. Now I have a friendship problem. Not any drama in particular or anything, but just want advice slash a different perspective, etc. I went to college for my general studies and have made a lot of friends. My 2 year experience at college was good in some ways, but also very rough in other ways. One of the good parts of the experience was making friends and mending some old relationships. But the rough part was that I was going through a lot of extremely hard things mentally. I was so depressed at the end, the sophomore year, of college, and have just pushed a lot of people away. Looking back and reflecting on the relationships that I have or don't have now, I feel like some friendships made during freshman year are just non existent now. And I think it has a lot to do with the final year of struggling mentally. While I'm so proud of how far I have come mentally and how much progress I've made over the years of therapy, some days I just feel so lonely and guilty for losing the relationships that I've made. I know that it's not all of my fault for the lost relationships, as both of you know quite well, I'm sure. Friendships are complicated when you're in your 20s at times, like nothing is stable. But as I've mentioned, I still feel guilty and lonely. And there's also the fear of losing more friendships in the future because of my previous experiences. So my questions are, have either of you experienced something like this? How do you overcome that fear? How do you overcome the guilt that honestly doesn't serve me anymore? How do I hold space for the courage of making friends outside of college? I've been dying to ask these questions, but couldn't build up the courage till now, and I hope all of the ramblings make sense. Oh, do they make sense?
Oh, felt. I think the part where you were asking about how do I deal with the guilt of what happened to those friendships, immediately I just thought to myself, you are not alone. You are in a
Mm,
lot of company of people we've all been through that, where we've had friendships that we really cared about or we were close with at the time, and life happens. It's not a you problem. This is something in humanity where relationships ebb and flow, and some seasons you're really close and others you aren't. And like you said, you were going through such a hard time at the
mm,
time, and you did your best to make it through those years. So, what I would say regarding past relationships, and I don't even know if you were asking for this, but this is just something that came to my mind, is that I think some relationships are just for a time, and that's okay. I look back at some friendships that I made out when I was in Reading, and we had a good run. We had good times, just like when I was in Atlanta too, where I had those friends for just a season where I met them on set. But I do think there are some friendships that you could go back to if you evaluate that. For example, I would maybe make a list of all of the friendships that you had when you were there and think to yourself, do I think that that was a friendship for a season, or is this an actual connection that I am grieving? I am sad
yeah.
that I am no longer close with this person. And do you truly think that it was just because of this situation of when you went through this hard time? And if you would like to rekindle that, I would reach out to them. Because for me personally, I had a friend who I was so close with, and it's so funny because, spoiler alert, she's back in my life. But I mean, we were super close when I was 14. We got paired together for a Spanish project. I went to her dad's art studio and we did a Spanish thing where we had to speak in Spanish and explain how we were making a painting and the steps of making a painting, you know? And we were just so inseparable all throughout high school. We had sleepovers constantly. And then I had to go and join a cult.
Mm,
And
as you
goodness,
do.
as you do when you're 17 or 18 years old, joined a cult. And our friendship really just ceased.
Mm,
I would say for the first year, I would try to see her when I came back into town. But this friendship that I thought was going to be forever, that we were going to know each other forever, we just didn't talk anymore. We didn't have that much to say. And it's almost like it just felt like there was this wall that neither of us were communicating on.
mm.
Like we didn't even acknowledge that we were drifting. We just stopped talking. And that was really painful. I look back now and I do wonder how much of that was I was a very interesting person to be around during that time, I'm sure. But yeah, I think when I finally did kind of leave the cult and back when I was living in Atlanta, I realized that I missed her. And it had been four-ish years of us not
Mm.
being friends, of us not talking. And it was to the point where she didn't even go to my wedding with Ted because I just wasn't close with her. So I reached out to her. I told her that I missed her, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I miss you so much too." And we picked back up, and she ended up coming out to Atlanta, visited me and Ted. That was a whole thing. But visited me and Ted. Surprisingly, we had a good time, but that was her one and only time meeting him, I believe. And yeah, ever since then, we've just been closer. She actually lives in my apartment complex now, and she was in my wedding with Bran. She's great. But I think, had I not decided to just ask, like, do you
Mm.
miss me too? Essentially, is
Yeah.
I miss this connection. Do you miss this connection? So, like I said, it's not going to be that way with every single person on this list from people from college because I can think of this friend, but I can also think of tons of other friends that I've had from high school that I don't necessarily miss that connection. And I'm not like dying to get that relationship back. But I think that if you want to, there's nothing wrong with revisiting the past to see if you can bring any of those relationships back. As far as making new connections, I know that so many people in their 20s, you just want friendship and you have no idea where you make friends nowadays. I mean, I've
Yep.
heard that from literally every friend I have, probably, is that they would like to have more friends. And once you get out of an environment like college, where you are forced to be in close proximity with a bunch of people your age who have similar interests and you're just out in the world. It's so hard. But I would really try to find a hobby or go to a book club, join a running club, do something that just sounds fun to you. That way, either way, even if you don't make the best friend there, you'll still have a good time. But
Yeah.
honestly, in my opinion, I don't think people go to those sorts of things unless they're searching out some community.
Yeah.
People go to those sorts of clubs because they want some human interaction. So a lot of those people who are going to be going to that are going to be open to making friends. And I think you can just try to remind yourself that you are in a different space now than you were back then and give yourself grace for that. We all go through different seasons where we are more or less emotionally available. And it sounds like you are coming into a season where you feel more ready to
Yeah.
have those relationships again. So just trust that and try to not go down this spiral of thinking, I'm bad with friendships.
Uh,
I'm a bad friend or I don't know how to maintain friendships because that is a lie and that's not true. That was something that was going on in a very specific season of your life and try to remind yourself that that doesn't define you or who you are or how you show up in relationships.
what I was going to say is kind of what you were saying toward the end. Let's talk about like the fear of like overcoming the fear of like reliving your past and your future relationships. You have grown and you're in a different place. And also, that means that you will call in friendships that are different. Like your energy, who you are, how you, the type of people that you are attracted to are going to be different now than they used to be. And I say this because coming from someone who has lost so many friendships because of her mental health, I have lost a lot of friendships because of my mental health because I cannot keep up. So when I go into a depressive episode, this is kind of what you were talking about happening like back when you lost all these friendships. When I go into a depressive episode or I'm feeling overwhelmed in life, my coping mechanism is to scale back to like exactly the things that I absolutely need to do and cut everything else out of my life. That's not to say like if someone called me in an emergency situation that I wouldn't be there for my friend. It's more just saying like the everyday checking up or the every week or the every month or like the coffee trip or whatever it is, the getting together. If I'm overwhelmed, I can't do the extras. So those are the things that go first. So when my mental health was, and my mental health goes up and down, as many people who struggle with mental health, that happens for them too. So when I'm doing well, I often try to and recover my friendships and recover my friendships. And then when I dip low, to them, it feels like I'm completely dropping off the face of the planet because I just all of a sudden stop. Whereas in my life, I'm still doing 5 million things and keeping my family running and going to work every day and getting out of bed. And that feels like a lot to me. But of course, to the person who was texting them every week and now they haven't heard from me in a couple months. So in my teens and my 20s, it was easy for me to lose friendships because people didn't have an understanding for my mental health or even just like a scope of mental health in general and how people might be affected by their mental health. Now in my 30s, I don't have a big group of friends. I have acquaintances and I have a really small core group of friends. And the friends that I do have understand my mental health. They understand also that like I have a life outside of the friendship and there's a lot of grace and a lot of space for me to like move throughout my life without having to constantly check in order to keep that friendship close. I think it's easy when you're young to lose friendships when you're not checking in every single day, or say you're in college and they're going out every single evening and you're not feeling well and so you don't go out at all. Those people are going to be like, oh, let's just stop inviting her, right? But as you get older and you have people who they've had their own experiences with mental health or they've had their own experiences in life that have made them busier than just being able to go out, all the time. They might give you some more, there will be more people who will give you the space and the grace that you need to be able to have your own life, take your day, take your mental health day, like be a little bit quieter. And they won't automatically assume like you don't want to be friends with them or you don't care about them. And that's what I found even in a friendship actually that I lost over this was in my mid to late 20s. I lost a friendship because I was really trying to dial in my life from like being as social so that I could work on my goals. it really harmed one of my friendships because that was like my social buddy and we did lots of stuff together all the time. And so because I kind of suddenly was like, you know what, I'm going to dial it back and go inward and kind of work on hermit mode a little bit and stay home more and work on my goals a little bit more and um like even so much as like drink less, like whatever it is, you just have your own things. It harmed the relationship. But then years later, it came back around because she went through her own stuff too and was kind of like, hey, I realized that we fell off, but I was putting too much pressure on the friendship for you to like be there all the time, as opposed to being like, you're a good friend and like your friendship matters to me, whether or not you want to hang out every second of every day. And so then we were able to like build this relationship that we have now, which is really kind of easy, no pressure. As you mature, you will find people who are looking for friendships that aren't as full on because they've moved into other areas of life. They have their own goals and their own things. And you might feel the natural lift of that pressure. I have a lot of people in my life, like all of the closest people in my life, who understand that about me. And I feel like that's really important. So part of overcoming the fear, I believe, understanding that there are going to be other people who you're not going to lose because you might have ebbs and flows in your own mental health and your own life and what you need. They're going to see that, they're going to honor that, and they're going to welcome you with open arms whenever you have the energy. So that's kind of also twofold on the releasing the guilt that doesn't serve you is, yeah, we can take accountability for being like not as present when we're going through stuff in our friendships. And I've apologized to friends and been like, I'm sorry that I haven't been as attentive. And I can really mean that. And I can also be honest and say, I can't tell you for sure that this won't happen again. And so, like, I've had a friendship where I've had to have that conversation and been like, I apologize because I didn't mean to hurt you. And also, this is kind of where I'm at in my life. And I don't know if I can maintain like the amount that you're wanting from this. And so you could also put it onto the other person in the sense that they get to choose the friends that they want in their lives. And if they're not someone who feels like they can hold or have the capacity for a friend who struggles with their mental health or might need a little bit more time alone, then that's them too. It's not just you. You're not inherently wrong and you're not necessarily doing something wrong by giving yourself what you need in order to just stay alive or be okay. So that's how I would say release yourself from the guilt, is that you are preserving your own sanity, your own well-being, and you should always put yourself first before you put other people on the list of things that you take care of. And it's you and then it's everybody else. So you will have friends that will understand that and release yourself from the guilt because you took care of you and that's what you needed to do. And I would say even if you hit a hard time or a rough patch down the road, take care of yourself before you take care of anything else every single time.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is very important to prioritize your mental health and make sure checking in with yourself to make sure that you are doing okay. And I have full faith that you are going to be able to find a community to rally around you because I think so many of us are looking for it. I think you are
Mm,
going to find your people as we are all trying to find our people. So,
absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
all right, are you ready for the second one?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Overshare Hour. I'm struggling with something that feels heavier than I expected, and I can't tell if I'm overthinking it or if my tuition is trying to tell me something. My best friend Emily and I have been close since we were 15. She was my maid of honor, knew everything about my marriage, and was the person that supported me the most when I finally left my emotionally abusive husband. She sat with me the night that I packed my bag and she told me that she was proud of me. After the divorce, something shifted. She became distant, text slowed, conversations started to become surface level, and she seemed uncomfortable whenever I talked about therapy or about how much I was changing. She started to make jokes about me being very self aware now, and it didn't feel kind at all. The moment that really hurt was my birthday. I invited her to a small dinner and she canceled at the last minute. And after that, I realized that I was the only one trying anymore. So I stopped. It's been almost a year. I keep wondering if my healing made me harder to be around, if leaving my marriage forced her to look at parts of her own life that she didn't want to face. What hurts the most is that she really supported me in leaving, but it doesn't seem like she supported the version of me that survived. Did my healing make her feel threatened? And how do you grieve a friendship that didn't end with a fight, but with silence?
Ooh, this is rough. First of all, do we know that she's not dating him? Okay. Just
Whoa,
kidding, but
my brain didn't even go there. That's great. What if it
I
was
mean,
all a ploy to,
I
to
know,
get
right?
you out of that relationship?
I'm so proud of you. No, I don't think that's what's happening necessarily. I mean, it could. It just popped in my head initially, and now the more I listened, the more I'm like, okay, it sounds like she is threatened by your actual healing and not that she's dating your ex husband, which would be crazy. Okay, so people, I'm going to be so cliche and say the quote that you hear all the time: people can only meet you as far as they've met themselves. They can only see you as far as they've seen themselves. They can only hold space for you as far as held space for themselves. So, as we grow and we evolve and we change, there's something weird that happens. You can call it energy, you can call it frequency, you can call it whatever you want, but something shifts and it literally can repel people from you. People can become offended by your, like you said, your self awareness, right? Because maybe you say things or have said things in, about what you've learned in therapy or things that you've learned about yourself that this person has, maybe it triggered them, and they felt like a flag go up of something that potentially they could pay attention to within themselves, or a pattern that you're breaking that they are not ready to release in their own lives, a habit that you're building that they're not ready to build for themselves, but that they kind of would like to, and that could be triggering. And so now, instead of feeling comfortable around you, they feel like you're kind of rubbing salt on a wound, or like they feel like they're in a pressure cooker whenever they're around you. And it's not because you're bad. It's not because of what you're doing that it's wrong. It's just that maybe they're in a phase of life where they might kind of want more, but they're not ready to make that step. And so you are a sore subject because you bring up all their shit and like show it to their face, and they're like, I'm not ready to look at that. This is just one option. I mean, I think it could be this, because for me, I'll give an example of something like kind of fresh. I met some new girls who are not like my friends, but they're friends of a friend of mine. And we've done some things together. And they have they have a really healthy lifestyle. They have like really strong health goals, and they hold themselves to a really high standard, and they're very disciplined. It feels healthy to me. It doesn't feel like an unhealthy relationship, but what it has done is kind of like revealed to me like where I want to be, and I'm not ready to like kind of give up some vices. Does that make sense? In order to be there, it does feel motivating, and it also, whenever I see them, I'm like, oh, like I didn't do the things, because they motivate me. I like that about them, and they feel like kind of people that I can learn from and like grow, being around them. But obviously I'm not ready to like let go of some of my stuff, because I feel that like tinge in my gut, or whenever I see them at like their high rocks competitions on social media, and that's something that I would really love to do, but I'm not training for that or anywhere near training for that, then I'm like, man, like I need to do that. And it's not because I want to be like them. It's something I genuinely would like I would like to actually do something like that. But I'm not taking the steps, right? So that's just a kind of a soft example of something that, especially if it's like your closest friend, it's kind of the reason people, like when they stop drinking or they become sober, they lose a lot of their friendships, because those people have a hard time being around someone who's like, I'm going to go out with you and I'm going to have fun, but I'm not going to have a drink. And then they're like, well, what about, should I not have a drink, or should I feel badly about myself that I'm not drinking? And then they kind of like push that person out of the friend group. So that's kind of where I'm getting at with this, is that you hold up a mirror to someone's bullshit. Everyone has bullshit. I'm not saying she's bad, but like you
Yeah.
hold up a mirror to their personal bullshit. They might be triggered by it, and then they don't want to be around you because you're not someone that they can settle into their bullshit with. You're someone that's kind of just naturally calling them out of it, and they might not be ready for that. So that's what I would say. I don't think she's dating your ex-husband. If she is, you lost a friend that you should never have had. But yeah, I think it's probably just that she's not ready to, and so you trigger her.
Interesting. I love that your mind went to you thinking that they were.
That's the first thing
I'm
I
like,
thought.
it's the Reddit stories. No,
You
I
never
would have.
know.
You never know. Life is
Yeah.
weird. Crazy
Hmm.
stuff happens all the time. Um, yeah, this one's interesting. I feel like I relate to it on so many levels with multiple different relationships I've had in the past. So I think that there's a few options. I don't think Ken's and I could say for sure what is
Yeah.
going on in this friend's brain, because there are a few options that I feel like could make sense. The first one, and this might just be me projecting my own experience. You didn't say if this person's in a relationship or not, but I have experienced that before when I left Ted and finally made that leap to leave. I had people who supported me in leaving. Kind of. So maybe it's not exactly the same. They did support me in separating. They probably would have preferred me to try to make it work.
Mm.
But overall, they were supportive at the time. But I think that when I started educating myself on abuse and I started reading the book, Why Does He Do That by Lundy Bancroft, I started to learn more about gaslighting and control and these sorts of dynamics. My friend did not want to hear about it because she was very much going through something in her marriage that
Yep.
felt a little too similar. And I think it made her uncomfortable. And I was never calling out anything that her husband was
Mhm.
doing. I was just kind of sharing, oh, I'm finally realizing why Ted did this thing. And this friend would kind of defend those behaviors because I think when your mind is trying to protect you. So my friend at the time was probably like, I can't admit that any of this is
Yeah.
abuse because if I did, then my life would fall apart. And I very much don't want that to happen.
Yep.
So I distinctly remember we were sitting in her kitchen. I'm talking to her about the things that Ted used to call me, and I'm just processing my own stuff. And she brought up how her husband calls her a bitch all the time, and would cuss at her. And she said, but it's not abusive because it doesn't hurt my feelings. She literally said it's not abusive though because it doesn't bother me. And that it really doesn't hurt my feelings. It's fine, and he's not perfect, but whatever. And, she offered that up because I'm sitting here saying, well, I think I was explaining to her about how Ted used to call me a whore. And I think that's what it was. I was saying, he used to call me a whore, and I'm processing and realizing that that was also abuse, not just the physical stuff.
Yeah.
And she brought up, oh, well, my husband calls me a bitch, but it's different. And I slowly learned that I couldn't necessarily process everything I was feeling and learning
Yeah.
because it very much threatened her worldview and system with her husband, and I would tell her gently, well, I don't think it's okay that he's calling you a bitch,
Yeah.
whether or not it hurts you or not, but that's obviously a whole separate conversation on how to have a conversation like that with a friend who's going through that. But all of that to say, we don't know if this friend is in a relationship. It's possible that hearing you heal is threatening her in that way because it might make her put up a mirror to her own life and think, am I not happy with my life right now? And she can't really go there. Now, I think the other thing that could be happening is sometimes it sounds petty, but I really do think it is a thing for some people. They like to feel like they're the winner or the saver.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
think it's possible that this friend really enjoyed the dynamic of being better off than you.
Yep.
I have a better life and I'm helping you and I'm going to rescue you. And that could explain why she was so supportive of you leaving your ex because she's
Mhm.
sitting here thinking, I'm going to solve your problem. And she thinks her life is just more enjoyable and she's kind of winning.
She's the
Now,
hero.
she's the hero. And now
Yeah.
you get divorced and you're happy, you're thriving, you're having a great time. And she might not like the thriving version of you. And which
Yeah.
is so horrible to say out
Yeah.
loud, but I do think that there are people out there like that where they want to be in the friendship because it makes them feel good about themselves. I think I saw
So
something
true.
recently on TikTok where someone straight up admitted, they said, I love being friends with people who are less attractive than me because it
Oh.
makes me feel better about myself. And I'm
Oh.
like, that's a crazy thing to say, but people are like that, you know,
Yeah. And that's
specific
their own
personalities.
insecurities and issues. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's like once you become the hero of your own life, like, what do you need me for? Like, you're
Yeah.
not gonna love me the same, or you're not like, they wanna feel like you're needed by you. And if you don't need them, then it's not good
Mhm.
enough just to have a mutual loving relationship. You have to be like needed.
And
Yeah.
the happier and happier you get, she might feel like she is not keeping up And
Mhm.
no, you're going to be more successful than me. You're going to be more healed than me.
It's a
She
threat.
she may not be able to handle that because in a different way, but kind of the same, it is a mirror to her own life and she just
Totally.
really can't handle it. So I think either way, it doesn't sound like she's the best friend for you in
Yeah.
this season and it does sound like it has already fizzled. I do wonder if you ever had a conversation with her about this, but I understand it's been a year now. So at this
Yeah.
point, I think I would just leave it. But what do you think, Ken?
No, I would say, like, I understand grieving the loss of the friendship. Maybe if it's, like, eating at you, you could reach out and see, like, where she's at now. Maybe you need closure, seeing, like, "Hey, like, why did the friendship end?" That's it kind of an interesting point is that I had the friendship one of the friendships that I talked about earlier in the other submission, I had, like, let go of that friendship. I still grieved the loss of it, but I kind of thought it would never come back, and then randomly, the opportunity to have a closure conversation came back, and the closure conversation opened the door to a new friendship with this person that has been really good and really healthy. So you never know what could happen, right? Like if you don't feel completely good closing the door, you can always try to find that closure and see what is on the other side of it. But like as is the way that the friendship ended, I think you're better off and there will be other people who will offer you a healthier, more grounded relationship. However, if this was like your best friend in the entire world or your soulmate friend and you're feeling like you can't go the rest of your life without at least having a closure conversation, that's, you're owed, that at least to try and see, if it can either be rekindled or if you can have some sort of idea in your mind of why it ended and move on more peacefully. But in general, if this person has not grown, then I think like where the relationship ended, I think, yeah, you why go back to something that is
Mhm.
trying to keep you in a less healed version of yourself. Friendships should rejoice at the success and like the growth of their friends. And I know it's hard. We all get jealous of our friends. Like we get like the comparison and stuff, but overarching and like deep down, like really within ourselves, like we want to see our friends thrive and grow and like be a part of that. And
Yeah, and rereading the end of it, it does sound like she doesn't necessarily want to rekindle. It says, "How do you grieve a friendship that didn't end with a fight, but with silence?"
okay.
And I think part of it is just knowing that not all friendships end the same way. I think that when we picture a falling out, we picture the screaming. How could you, especially if you guys have been so close and you share so
Yeah.
many of these intimate memories together of from your friendship. But unfortunately, some of them really they do just end in silence and it doesn't make the decision to part ways any less valid. I think that
True.
you know what happened, or at least you know how it made you feel. And I would just journal through those feelings and just realize that your experience with this friendship breakup and this grief is extremely valid. And so many people have gone through similar things like this too.
Yeah, I mean, my friendship with Crystal ended in silence, and I chose that. I chose not to engage and not to re-engage in a friendship that made me feel small, that made me feel like I wasn't valued, that made me feel manipulated, where I felt gaslit and lied to. I just chose it is not worth my time to re-engage in that to try to figure out like how to end that. Like it's better for me to just take the information that I have of this person is not my true friend and walk away and grieve it on my own in therapy and with you and with my family. But without that person being a part of that grieving process.
Yeah, especially
So
if you
that's
feel
true.
like that person isn't safe. I feel like that makes a lot of
Mhm.
sense. One thing that Crystal used to do a lot would be to tried to get my dad on a call once and said, let's go out to coffee. I can explain everything if we just go to
Mhm.
coffee, but we all kind of knew that some people are really good at deflecting questions in person with
Yep.
flattery. And he was kind of like, just answer the question. Oh, but no, let's go to coffee. So I think in situations like that where you know that there might be some manipulation and like you were saying, Ken's gaslighting and
Yeah,
behaviors like that, sometimes silence is the better way to just make that
totally.
decision for yourself and to have those boundaries.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That was a good point. All right. Are you ready for the next and final before our overshare moment?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, this one says, Hi, Overshare Hour. One of my closest friends is getting married this fall, and I'm having a really hard time with it. I love her deeply, but her fiance has always given me a bad gut feeling. He's not openly abusive or cruel, but he's controlling in subtle ways. He makes jokes that shut her down, speaks for her in group settings, and I've watched her slowly become quieter and less confident since they got together. When they first got engaged, I pushed my feelings down and RSVP'd yes right away because I wanted to be supportive. At the time, I thought maybe I was just being overprotective. But as the wedding gets closer, the thought of sitting there and celebrating this relationship makes my stomach drop. It feels dishonest, like I'm co signing something that doesn't sit right with me. I don't want to punish her or make her feel judged, and I definitely don't want to blow up a friendship I care about. But I also don't know if I can emotionally handle pretending I'm happy about this day. Do I suck it up and go for her sake? Or is it okay to quietly back out even if it changes the friendship? What do you think, Juby? I specifically wanted to read this one to you because I feel like you might
Ooh,
have some thoughts based on your life experience.
well, this one's so hard. And I
Yeah.
wonder if we're all going to have different opinions on this. So don't come for me, guys, if you disagree with me on how to handle this. I guess my first question, I would love if you were sitting in front of me. That way I could like get more of the full picture. But
Mhm.
I wonder if you've ever talked to her about you see him speaking to her, the little ways of kind of like poking fun at her, I think you said. I would love to know if you've talked to her about that before, the things that have made you uncomfortable, how he speaks to her, if that's ever come up, or if that's something that you've just chosen to not talk about. Because I feel like that might change my opinion in a way if you already have raised those concerns. Because I feel like if you have raised those concerns, and this is where I'm like, y'all might not agree with me. If you have raised those concerns and she has decided to stay in this relationship, personally, I would still go, even if it made me not the happiest for the
Mhm.
marriage. I and I'm gonna overshare, but I have a friend who not the biggest fan, not the biggest fan of their partner. And we don't talk about it. You know, I have brought it up maybe twice in the many years. And I've really only ever brought it up when concerning or things that I felt were concerning enough to say something about, I have said, or when they've come to me and specifically asked for advice and I've given that input on what I thought. And I was incredibly honest and said, I feel like this is not okay, the way that this is happening. And other than that, I haven't because it's just kind of been known that they're not necessarily looking for my opinion the majority of the time. You know, it's
Yeah.
really only these conversations that bubble up every few years, but they're very receptive when we have those conversations, but nothing ever changes and this relationship has continued. So, I have asked myself when they get married someday or if they get married someday, what am I going to do? Personally, I'm going to go and support her and love her because she is a dear, dear friend of mine. And that's just personally how I feel about it because will I be sitting in that chair thinking, this isn't my favorite choice? Yes. Like I
Yeah.
will, but at the end of the day, I would hope that they would show up for me. You know, I look back at my relationship with Ted and should I have married Ted? Absolutely not. But I am thankful that my family members supported me and they were kind to me because I really don't think that there was anything that could have ever changed my mind. I
That
was
part.
very dead set. Yes, very dead set on this relationship and being with him. And had somebody told me not to, it only would have damaged the relationship and it would have further isolated me whenever I decided to leave. I think
That.
because I had support and I knew that I had unwavering, unconditional love from family and friends, when I finally decided, okay, I'm going to share, I knew that they would be there. I think so often, and I know you're saying that he's not overly cruel or abusive necessarily that we know. We just know that there's some red flag behavior going on here. It could be worse behind the scenes. There's no way for us to know. But if it ever gets to a point where she kind of feels attacked and then she feels like she has to cut off friendships and she loses all of her people, abusers love that because
Mhm.
they become your sole person. And it's kind of like this us against everyone else mentality. And Ted really loved to do that. It was very much us versus my family, despite the fact that I loved my family. But I almost felt, I look back and I borderline feel ashamed, but I realized I was like in a very messed up headspace at the time and was dealing with a lot of abuse. But I felt the need to express frustration about my family to him so that he would be happy with me. Like, oh, I'm also
Yeah.
frustrated with them. Like, oh, yeah, they
Yeah.
frustrate me, but the difference is I love them and he didn't, like at all,
Yep.
but I felt rewarded in a way if I had distance with the
Mhm.
people in my life. So for all of those reasons, I personally wouldn't not show up to a friend's wedding if I just didn't like the groom. If it really is that simple, if he hasn't said something horribly atrocious to you and it really is just like, man, this guy is bad vibes and I really wish he wasn't marrying him. I feel that out of me trying to be a good friend, I would still go. But I don't know. What do you think, Kens?
Yeah, I have no notes. I like my advice is exactly the same. I genuinely do not think that the things that we say to people change their choices. I just don't.
Ooh,
I
mic drop. It doesn't.
I've never seen it happen. Never, ever, ever. But what does change a person's life is having a really good support system for when their own choices are seen through and then their life blows up or it doesn't. Hopefully this doesn't happen. But if their life blows up, the biggest thing that you can be for her is still there. So like you go to the wedding, you show face, you're happy for her because she's an adult and she's going to make this choice no matter what you say or what you think. And you stay true to the friendship regardless if you feel like she's dimming her light or she's becoming quieter or whatever the things are, she's not the self that you initially became friends with. Your job of being a good friend is staying close despite her shift, despite her distance, whatever it is, you stay close to her. You still love her through it all. And then if things go awry, if your worst case scenario or your worst fear comes true that this guy is shitty and the relationship doesn't work out, just like you said, Juby, she's going to have an entire team of people to turn to. And that's what friendship is. We're not supposed to manipulate our friends' choices and save them from everything that every, lion's den they could ever walk into. That's impossible to do that for humans. I know we've said this before on the podcast. We want to save every single person in our lives that we love. I want to save my kids from every tear that will ever be shed in the future. I can't do it. So all I have to do is continue to love them and be the mom that I want to be to them. And what that will create is a space for them to come to that is safe enough for them to want to come when shit hits the fan and they need support. So I think you say nothing unless, of course, obviously we're talking about someone who we haven't seen outright abuse. We haven't seen outright cruelty. He's just a walking red flag a little bit. And this person, is dimming her light. You go to the wedding, you show her the support that she needs at this time in her life, and then you stay true throughout the rest of the years that you're friends with her because that's what I've needed in all of my bad decisions and darkest hours. And the people like Jubilee and like some other close friends that I've had who have stayed near me during my darkest times, it's been them being there for me as I'm walking out of the fire that has been the thing that has allowed me to come back to myself. Their criticism of my choices or of the people in my life or whatever I was doing, not that you ever criticized me. I'm saying if you had,
Yeah.
that would not have changed me, but your support and being there for me was like the safe, the soft and safe landing for me to rebuild myself for myself. And that's what true friendship is. So I think you are a true friend. I'm just saying we've
Yeah.
all been there. We know what it's like to like feel sick to your stomach and want to do something about that. But the best thing you can do is just stay true to your friend and keep showing up for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the only way to say something is like if he did it that night. Okay. I don't think it's necessarily great to like come up and be like, oh, I had this laundry list of things that's been bothering me about this guy forever. But if he says something truly offensive or horrible
Yeah.
to her, which it kind of sounds like he hasn't though, because you said nothing crazy cruel. But if he did do something that feels like worth mentioning, I feel like it's okay as a friend to be like, hey, it kind of made me sad when he said, are you okay? Or just
Yeah.
like show some sort of concern of you deserve better than that. Not necessarily better than him. I don't think that it ever
Yeah.
works to say you deserve better than him. Like Ken said, I don't think that we can really talk our friends out of romantic relationships most of the time. That really has to be a them thing. But I do think that people telling you that if they see a behavior and call it in the moment and say like, "Hey, are you okay?" check in with you or like that's kind of not okay, but they still support you and love you no matter what. I feel like that is being a good friend. Because for me, I think I've told the story before, but there was a time where Ted freaked out. It was one of the only times he ever freaked out in front of the family on New Year's. And he went outside the house and he cussed and he said, she can find her own way home. And I'm sitting there crying with you, Kens, and you said, I don't know, maybe you should get divorced, and that stuck with me, but I knew you would love me if I stayed married, and you did.
Yeah.
You know, it was somebody saying, I see the way that he's behaving and it's concerning, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that that was good for me. But I think
And
that the worst thing
also,
you can do is apply pressure.
yes, because it's the and also I am not going to judge you and you're not going to lose me no matter what you choose.
Totally.
That's like the important piece.
And I feel like if you didn't go to the wedding, it kind of is like, you
Yeah.
won't have me
Mhm.
if you stay in this relationship, which I'm not sure is the right call in this
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, I agree, and I wanted to say something when you were talking about, like, saying something in the moment. Another potential thing you could do when he talks over her, because I know that was one of the things that was said that this he'll talk over her sometimes, and it kind of quiets her, is and you don't have to even call him out, like, you can let him finish talking over her
Yeah.
and then be like, "Hey, so and so, like, what were you gonna say? I'm interested to hear what your thoughts were on that." Or like, "What can you finish telling me, like, I what you were gonna say? I'd love to hear it." And you can acknowledge him and not make him feel small and still bring the mic back to her and be like, "Hey, I'd love to know, like, what you were gonna say too." Because sometimes she's like, okay, he said it, right? So like I don't have to say it. And everyone moved on. So then her silence is also like, and no one else cares. So like I guess I'll just sit here. It might be helpful. And this is not just in romantic relationships where partners speak over. This is just like in friendship groups when like something's said and someone starts to talk and then everyone talks over them. Sometimes you have to bring the mic back and be like, hey, so and so, you were going
This
to
has
say
totally
something.
happened at our game night.
Yeah, and so, like, it might just be an opportunity to be like, "You can also talk, and I wanna know what you were gonna say," and
Yeah.
let her have an opportunity to regain her voice. Because it might not just be that she's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna let him talk for me." It might just be, "And there's no opportunity now for me to talk," when she might still have things to say, so that could be another thing, is just like
Yeah.
that's it, that's all I'm
And
gonna
as
say.
far as the talking over each other thing, for all we know, it may not necessarily be malicious. Some people have like really bad
Totally.
habits. So I think I liked your advice of not necessarily trying to make him feel small or be rude about it. You can acknowledge
Mhm.
what he said and then go back to her. And it might make him realize, "Oh, I cut her off,"
Yes.
Like, but not in a mean way, but I think it can help him learn in the moment, "Hey, like, you do this," but
Yeah.
in a nice way and bring it back to her. So I think that's good advice. But yeah, let
Yeah.
us know, guys, what you think about that one. I was afraid you weren't gonna agree with me. Well, not really. I guess I thought you probably would, but it is a tricky situation. All right, well, are
Ugh,
you ready to jump into our overshare moment?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, so to be honest, my friends, I don't know what I'm going to tell you guys today because I feel like I kind of overshared at the beginning, just like about how I'm feeling. So, Juby, I'm going to put the pressure on you and let you go, and then something will come to me.
Oh, I have a great overshare today. Probably nobody
Yes.
will care, but I
Yes, yes,
care. So
yes.
it's important. Okay. So, yeah, I am excited because I'm wanting to read more books or listen to more audiobooks this year, right? So, I picked up this book called Money for Couples. Have you ever heard of it?
No, but I thank you for telling me because I'll buy it now.
Yes, you should buy it. It's amazing. It is from the same guy who wrote the book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. And I
Uh huh.
love that book. And I have kind of loosely been attempting to follow some of that stuff for like the past year. But I saw that he had a book specifically about couples and marriage. And I was like, this is great. I'm going to read it. And it is a 10-step program on how
Oh,
to get your finances in order as a couple. And it is life changing. I was going to tell you, you absolutely need to read it. And yeah, he's amazing. He has a Netflix special, I believe, and he also has a podcast called Money for Couples, where he has couples on and he interviews them and fixes their finances. So,
Shut up.
yeah, I've heard very good things, and he is very well respected. People say it's very solid advice, and it's all about how to actually get rich. So, when it comes to him versus Dave Ramsey gets a lot of flack because he does teach you how to cut expenses and
Yeah.
to, I don't know. He's very much like suffer now so that someday when you retire, you'll have a bunch of money. But
Yeah.
people like this guy because he has a very balanced view. He is like, yes, you need to cut things, but cut things you don't care about so that you can spend on the things that you do care about. So I'm really excited to actually go through the 10 steps. We already went through the first one and we're making our way through, but it's going to be a big change for us because guys, don't judge us, okay? But we have never combined our finances.
Yeah.
And we have been together for 6 years, married for three. And yeah, we just never got around to it. And we kind of done that whole you send me some money from your paycheck and I'll pay the rent. And,
Yep.
I'm excited to finally embrace actually sharing finances because I've actually never done it in my marriage with Ted. We also didn't share finances. So this will be like my first time ever putting paychecks in a joint checking account. And it
Yes.
feels like a very big change and I feel like it's going to be good for us in our marriage to just view money as our money because
Hmm.
honestly, it has kind of felt like we have our cards, like I have my cards, he has his cards, but I feel like it's going to be good to finally get on the same page and just like fully put our finances together. So, yeah, one thing I've been thinking about, and it's so random. So, okay, this is the first time I have expressed it publicly. Kenzie, tell me if this is the stupidest idea ever. But,
Okay.
well, okay, don't feel the need to tell me it's not a stupid idea. Okay, you can say, hey, maybe this is not a priority right now. But I love watching debt payoff content creators. I think they're
Yeah.
so much fun. And I love seeing people make payments to their credit cards and to say how much debt they have and how they are distributing their paychecks and investing and stuff like that, right? And I've just been thinking, wouldn't it be so fun to create a second account that is like just money debt payoff
Yes.
and put no pressure on it to make me any sort of money or be successful in a content creation kind of way, but more
Yeah.
so in a fun, keeping myself accountable, tracking my journey kind of way. So I've thought about that. I'm like, maybe I should do it. And then also, yeah, in the back of my head, I am like, could it be another stream of income? Because one of the
Yeah.
girls that I follow, oh my gosh, I saw her when she was first starting out. She had like 50,000 followers first starting out. Okay. That's still a lot of followers. But I mean, she had like 50,000 followers and she makes so much more money than me online. Oh my God. She has less followers than me, but I swear she is making ten to $15,000 a month
How
just
does
through
she make so
content.
much?
Girl, I want to
Like
know. I don't
brands?
know. Yeah, I feel like maybe it's easier for her to get brand partnerships. And
Yeah.
this is where I'm like, sorry guys, I might be losing you. This might be boring, but it's hard to find brand partnerships I have found in the deconstruction type of space,
Totally.
because I'm not like a beauty content creator or something
Yep.
like that. But I feel like it might be easier to find brand partnerships in the debt payoff space because there's like a lot of financial apps and systems and stuff like that. But she makes a lot of money. And I think when they started off, she was $56,000 in credit card debt and she completely paid that off this year.
Ah,
Like within a year, I think she fully paid it off. And now they're working on paying off student loans and stuff like that, but she fully paid
wow.
off her credit card debt. And I don't know, reading this book is very inspiring because he talks about how to create your rich life, which will look
Yeah.
different for everyone. We all have our different dreams. He says, I spend a ton of money on travel and nice clothes because I really care about that. But I don't
Yeah.
care about my car. So I have a car that I've had for 17 years and I'm a millionaire and I don't care because I don't need an upgrade. Like, I'm
Yeah.
good, you know? So he's all about sit down, get very hyper focused on what would it look like if you were living your dream life? How many trips would you take a year? And maybe you don't like traveling. You know, and just what is important to you. Would you like to go on a very nice date night every single week and be able to afford that? So it's really cool. I like it. It's very practical advice too. He teaches you how to fully budget and what percent of your income should be going to fixed expenses, what should be going to investing, saving, and guilt free spending money.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's exciting. I'm excited. We're going through it, but it's going to take a bit of work because one of the things that he has you do is go through a couple months of your past expenses to see how you are doing.
Whoop.
And
What?
I'm like, I don't need to know how I'm doing. I know it's bad. But he said, sorry, you're not allowed to skip this stuff because he said so many people think, oh, I'm only spending 10% on myself and they're spending like 50% on fun stuff, you know? So he's like,
Yeah.
you have to see how much money you are spending on DoorDash. Like you have to actually look at that. And one thing I like that he said too he said, when I tell people to imagine their dream life, and on my podcast, I tell them to explain to me, what does your rich life look like? He says, nobody tells me that they want lukewarm Chipotle every day. Okay. Like, that is a part of nobody's dream life. And I was like, oh, it's so true. You know, so he
That's
said,
so funny.
yeah, he's like, people are spending money on stuff that isn't even a part of your dream life. He said the amount of times that I have girls who come on and tell me that they spend $200 to $300 every couple weeks at Target.
Yeah.
And if I ask them what their dream life is not to go spend thousands of dollars at Target. Their dream
Yeah.
life is to go on vacation. And you just have to be smarter about where you allow yourself to spend. Because he says it's really not about the $5 latte that you get. Like the amount of couples that fight over a $5 latte, what it really is all of this other stuff, these blind
Yeah.
spots that people don't look at in their budgets, you know? So I'm really excited to do it. And I'm hoping that
Yay.
we can get in a really good place financially. That is the goal. So yeah, let me know, guys. I am considering creating a separate account for the money stuff, but I don't also know if I don't know, is that weird, Kenzie? Because I would have to tell people what I make for content and with podcasting and stuff. And I feel like, is it weird to be transparent about that kind of stuff online?
I don't think it's weird, but maybe like this would be a good thing to ask other people about. But I find it really refreshing when people say, like, this is how much I made on social media this month. This is how much I made doing this. Like, I think that's really cool. So I'm all about transparency. I don't think that's weird at all. And I think, yes, you should absolutely, if you feel like you have the capacity, it's a good
That's
idea.
the question.
Yeah. So do you feel like you have the capacity? I mean, I don't have the capacity to take something else on right now. But you are so like your strength is like juggling a million hats and doing them all really well. Like I would say like you're you know what is it? Like a master of nothing. What is it? A master, what is it? The when you do too many
I
things
know
and you're
what
a
phrase
master
you're
of
talking about. Yeah.
okay. Well, when someone tell us, is it a master of nothing, but you do a lot of things? I am that. If I do a lot of things, I am a master of none. But somehow you figure out how to do all the things really well. So,
Yeah. I'm wondering if I could just view it as something personal and fun for myself and not put the same level of pressure. If I do it, it would definitely be something that I'm only posting a few times a week. Whereas for, yeah, I don't know if you guys know how much I post. I'm trying to
yeah.
post 2 to 3 times a day, and then I try to post multiple times for both podcasts, you know, so it's
Yeah.
just a lot of posting. So I would not put that same pressure on that,
This
you know,
account.
but I
Yeah.
do feel like it would be fun, you know,
Yeah.
just debt payoff journey and see how far I could get in a year if I fully follow this guy's advice to the T and just realize that what I have been doing is not working. So I'm just going to trust his process and do it and see what happens.
I love that. And I can't freaking wait to buy this book because this is like Luca and I are also on this journey. We just had the conversation today. Like, should we combine finances? So, yeah, we're going to read the book
Yeah.
for
I
sure.
have my Audible. You can listen to it. So,
But yeah, I have Audible, so I could just get it with my free credit on the 15th. Every
yes.
15th, I'm just waiting for my free credit to roll through. Yeah, I'm excited for you. I think that's great.
Thank you.
Love it.
So, what's your overshare moment?
Um,
Overshare moment. Said it all weird.
okay. So my overshare moment is okay. This is my overshare moment. I love fitness. I love being active. I love it to the core of my being. I also, for the past 2 years, have felt like I've been living in someone else's body. Like, I just feel like my soul is like in someone else's body with like aches and pains, and like exercise doesn't feel good to me. And it's like hard for me to get off the floor sometimes because my body hurts. And I'm just like seeing this. I just saw this happening, like this rapid decline of my health physically happening so quickly. And I have struggled to like get into a rhythm of taking care of it and finding joy in exercise again and figuring out how that looks. Do cardio days a week of like super fun cardio that I love. Okay, I love to cycle. And so doing like cycling classes 45 minutes 2 days a week, one like really hard hit class and then one just like more of an endurance chill ride, like nothing too crazy. And it brings me so much joy. I love the endorphins that I get from it. And then I'm doing 3 weightlifting days a week, 3 to 4 weightlifting days a week, but I'm doing like at home. One of the days a week, I'll do like a dance. There's this thing called Naughty Girl Fitness. Have I told you about this on the podcast? Have I said this out loud?
No, but I'm obsessed.
Okay. So this girl, Janelle Genestra, I'm so sorry if I'm saying her name incorrectly, but she's a dancer. She created this like fitness program app that is now like you can put on your television. And it's called Naughty Girl Fitness. And it started out just being like dance workouts. But now she has like a strength training program, which is still like incorporating a lot of core work, a lot of flexibility, and like fun strength training. It's not like in the gym strength training. And I freaking love it. It's done to like really great music. Her energy is so amazing. All of her instructors are so amazing. I feel empowered doing it. And so I do that like once a week. And then I do like 3 other, literally 20 to 30 minutes like of strength training. And I feel my body like coming back to itself. Like I feel like my joints loosening and like my energy coming back and like my flexibility. I just feel like I'm starting to feel more like myself. And so it's beautiful to know I do not have 2.5 hours to spend in the gym. Like that's not even a thing. It's not even going to happen. Baseline. Also, I don't want to. It doesn't sound fun to me anymore. And I am doing these exercises and I'm starting to feel like, oh, there is a way.
That's huge. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy
Yeah.
for you.
Thank
I
you.
want to be where you are because I feel like, you're sitting there saying that I juggle lots of things and I'm good at it. But one thing I'm not good at juggling anymore is I used to go on morning walks
Yeah.
on my treadmill, and I was really good at habit stacking and editing videos while I was walking on the treadmill.
Mhm.
I past 6 months probably I have not walked on the treadmill, but I used to do it an hour a day, and I felt better. I do feel achy. I do feel like I'm looking
Like
at
your
my phone too
joints.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, like my joints don't feel good. And I know that I'm low key weak. I need to be lifting at least a little bit, 20
Yeah.
minutes, and doing stuff like that. So I'm trying to be like you. Follow up in a month, guys. My overshare will be I finally did it, guys. Kenzie inspired me.
Okay, and then vice versa, because we're trying to get on money stuff over here. So we'll follow up together
Yes, we
on
will.
how we're
I'm
doing on
excited.
the other side of things.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think that's going to be it for today's episode, guys. But thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. And please continue to send in your submissions. We love to hear from you guys. And do you want to
Yeah.
tell them about our Patreon?
Yeah, I was just going to say, actually, we have a Patreon, if you do not know. We do 3 bonus stories every single month. And what we're doing right now is Reddit stories. So we choose Reddit stories online and then we just kind of like dish about them. It's nothing like crazy, but we do like, Am I the asshole? Or what are some of the other ones we do?
Yeah, like
Like,
relationships
yeah,
and
yeah.
all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So if you're interested in that, it's just $5 a month for 3 extra stories with us. And it's super fun. Like it's the most chill, relaxed time. And also, we're going to start doing some Reddit stories, like just kind of pieced in throughout like our actual podcast. So you can get a taste of that and let us know. Like this is a community and a collaborative effort. So if you're like, we hate Reddit stories, but we want to do Patreon, like let us know what you want to see more of. And also on the pod and keep
We could do a
submitting.
book club.
We could do a book club. We'd love to do a book club. Yeah, we've actually like toyed with the idea. So let us know. We love you guys so much and we'll see you again next week. Bye.